Hello everyone, it's Tasha Danvers here, two-time Olympian and Olympic bronze medalist, and you are listening or watching another episode of Global Sports Channel's Sports Personality Spotlight. And do I have a personality in the house for you today? Her name is Sofya Anokhina, and she is an elite golfer. Sofya, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Now, where are you calling from? Where in the world are you?
So I'm currently in Phoenix, Arizona, in the middle of the desert, just, under the sunshine, surrounded by the cacti.
Nice.
Living the dream.
I love it. But like me, I have a little sense of a little accent there. I'm assuming you're not born and raised in Arizona.
That would be a good guess. People do tell me that I sound like Australian, which I would really wish I would, but I'm Russian, born and raised, and moved to the United States when I was 17 years old.
You know what? I know the story about how you ended up in the US, and it's amazing. We're definitely going to get into that. But I want to learn more about your upbringing and your initial passions, because your initial passions weren't actually golf, were they? Were like music and dancing. Tell me about your history with that.
So I have been a ballroom dancer for definitely longer than I can remember.
Wow.
I've been a dancer since I was probably 3 years old, and I really got into ballroom dancing, and I just absolutely loved it from the get-go. And golf was kind of my side gig at all times. And my grandmother actually brought me to golf, and she just thought it would be a tremendous opportunity for me to spend some time outside in the summer in Moscow. And that's really how the golf became something, really. But I was definitely a ballroom dancer for since I was little, and I was just really proud of being a dancer, like girly thing, kind of sporty but not really, but quite hard physically, I would say. And then I had to quit after golf became something, and I turned out to be all right in golf when I was a junior, and that's really what got me going, because there's not a whole lot of trophies in ballroom dancing.
Right. Now I find it fascinating, the ballroom dancing, and like you said, all the glamour and that comes with it.
Fancy.
Now, so fancy, so glamorous. Was that like quite a shift to the system, going from all this glitz and glamour, your hair has to be perfectly done, to being out on the course swinging and gritting it out?
Fun fact, actually, my mom loved the ballroom dancing deal so much that she actually started making dresses for me for the golf course.
Wow.
Literally creating her own designs and basically sewing them together. So I was by far the most stylish golfer out there.
Love it.
They were kind of out of date, because it was really my mom's vision of how it should look like. So yeah. I didn't feel comfortable, because all of the kids were kind of like green shorts being top and, blue hat, and that's good to go. And I was always very fancied up, and I was always kind of like, it's a little weird. Like, I'm such a and I felt like I need to be better to be standing out. Like, when you're attracting attention, you kind of want to be somewhat a good golfer. You don't want to be just like, oh yeah, she's just pretty and she has cool dresses. So it's almost something that really pushed me to be better in golf, because I was like, well, I cannot attract so much attention on the range yet not being so good. Like, right. I kind of have to be good now.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. I remember wearing skirts to race in, and I was thinking, listen, I better do good in here. You can't be dressing like this and then coming last. So. Exactly.
Like, people are going to talk about you, and you're like, well, you don't want to be remembered as a girl in that weird dress. You want to be,
right.
something else in addition to that too, right?
So has that been something that's kind of stuck with you now? Like, do you like to stand out? I mean, I can relate to your personality so much, because I'm no wallflower. Like, I like to be out there. I like to do things that are different. Is that still a part of you and a part of what you do in sports, and maybe even outside of sports?
I'm unfortunate. My mom stopped doing dresses for me.
Oh, man.
I don't get that fancied up as I used to, I think. But I'm still doing my best for sure, just because, I don't know. I feel like golf is kind of going into a very sporty, athletic, athleisure direction, and I definitely like it. But I also want to keep it a little more classy. So
Yeah.
I think that way. I think I do look a little classier than what the trend is really going towards too.
Right.
But yeah, I don't mind to stand out, and I do like it, and I think it's fun, right? Like it's,
Absolutely.
and now I think that I'm grown up, I don't feel like I need to be,
Right.
like I need to worry about standing out so much.
Right, right. Now you said you had such a, great passion for ballroom dance, for music. Was that a dream for you to compete further into adulthood and, maybe be some of the best in the world? And what was the defining moment, if that was the case, where you realized, okay, I'm going to have to stop this if I'm going to do golf? How did you decide which path to take?
So I was about 5'8", 5'7", since I was, I don't know, as much as I can remember, probably 13 years old. And I outgrew all of my partners. I outgrew all of my partners who I could ballroom dance with. And basically it was really hard to find boys in that industry, I should say, right? Because it's a very like girly sport.
Yeah.
Or hobby.
Yeah.
So that was one of the points. And then I think when I was about 12, I somehow won this tournament in the junior event in Moscow. And I was like, that feels freaking good. I think that was really my biggest turning point of like, I'm not just a girl with this funky dresses out here. Like, I can do this.
Right.
And I think that was like my really main turning point where I was like, oh, I like this. I like the taste of it. I like the feel of it. It's not fun to not do well, but I like the win, and that just outweighs everything.
Right. Now, a lot of golfers start even earlier than you started. Did you ever feel like you were kind of left behind, or because of your talent and, already starting to win tournaments early, did you feel like you were up with the rest anyway?
You're like nailing it right down there, because for some reason, I feel like I was always so late. I was late into golf, and then I was late into competition locally, and I was late into the competition internationally, and then I was kind of late into looking into colleges in the US to play competitive college golf. So it's always like, I'm late again. And I'm always feel like I'm always on the verge of like being really late and really making it. So yes, it does. I always do have that feeling, and it never really leaves me if I like really think about it. But I don't really mind it, I guess, because I feel like the later, the wiser you are, the more calmer you are, the more stable you are as an athlete. And it really on and off the golf course. So I almost take it as a benefit now. Like, I used to be really upset about it. I always was like, well, when I was at that age, I wasn't even close to be competing, and on these stages. And look at all of the other girls, like they were already out there for the last 4 or 5 years that I just started. So it kind of bothered me back then, but now I'm kind of like, actually worked out better for me, I think.
Right. No, I think you're absolutely right. There's definitely wisdom that comes with age. Even though I'm retired, I'm like, man, if I'd known that one. God, if I had known that when I was competing.
I know, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Now, you actually had ambitions to come to the United States, where you are now. This is your dream fulfilled. But you actually were interested in California initially, and you said it was because you were watching movies. Now, I saw Boys in the Hood, so I was a little bit less eager. What movies were you watching that inspired you to want to come to the States?
I don't know. I feel like every single advertisement and I can't even name you the movies, honestly, because at that time I would be just watching any American movies and be plenty happy with it. And all I would see is New York or California or the palm trees, right? And then you go into social media and that's all you see. LA, Hollywood, Palm Spring, I don't know, palms all over the place, palm walks. fancy cars, ocean, and you're kind of like, yeah, that looks like the spot.
Right.
And granted, it might have been Florida, and I had no idea, but for some reason, like that LA, Hollywood just stood out to me, and I was like, that's exactly where I want to be.
Right. Probably quite different from Moscow as far as, the scenery. Now, you were really eager to do that, but your parents weren't quite as excited about this whole idea of going to America. What were their concerns with you traveling to another country like that, or specifically maybe even Hollywood?
I think that their main reason was the fact that they've never been here before. Nor did we as a family never traveled to United States.
Right.
And that was, I think, their bigger point of like, well, how we can let her go anywhere, not really knowing what is there.
Right.
And I think that was their biggest issue, which I totally understand. And another point was we cannot visit her on the weekends, right? Like if we were able to visit her in Europe while she's playing stuff, now we can. It's quite a commitment to travel, and they hate flying. So I think that was really the biggest issue. But then once my mom came here with me, she was kind of like, just like everywhere else.
Yeah.
The life is pretty much the same.
Right. So you made the tough decision, and you talk about wisdom and you talk about maturity with age. A little birdie called the internet told me that you actually called your university to ask if you could compete for them when you initially came to the States. Is this true, or is this a vicious rumor?
Actually, I came here. Well, the fun fact is I really came to school, and I think that's a little off of his story, but it's kind of close. Like I was so late into looking into schools. Like I was a half a year away from getting into college, and I just started talking to schools. Like I had no idea what I'm doing. I didn't tell that to my parents, so I literally just Googled what college sports in the US are. Like I had nobody to advise or no friends that I knew that could really help me to search or to tell me where to look and how to look. So I Googled everything, and Wikipedia became my best friend. It basically said that Division I is the best one you can go to, and I was like, well, obviously that's where I want to be. So that's how I made it here. When I started looking for schools, basically this recruitment company reached out to me because Google ads work. And they basically said, you're a perfect candidate. And I said, how do you know that? And they're like, well, you said that your like scoring average is like 75. I was like, yeah, pretty close. I actually just filled out that whole like deal on accident. And I did put 75 in my email address, just kind of like to see where I was kind of like, oh, it's going to take me nowhere anyway. So I started searching, not even knowing my scoring average, really, where do I want to go to, nor telling my parents because I knew they wouldn't like it. So that's how my story started here. And then colleges started reaching out, and I didn't know what to look at. I literally started looking at what's their school colors, because I was like, I love it. Tell a 16-year-old what to look into when you're looking for schools. Like everybody has business major. That's what I want to do. Everybody has, dorms and stuff like that. That's fine. Like I would be able to leave somewhere, and there was probably a grocery store out there. And then I just kind of looked at, the facilities and mascot. I was like, yeah, that one is not very good. That one is pretty cool.
This is the best story ever. I love it.
But like, who do you go to, right? Like, kind of just like a girl from Russia never been to America. Like, Kentucky and California or North Carolina is pretty much the same to me. Like, I get the weather is different here and there, but that's about it. So that's what I was looking at, and that's how I got to college, which is, as you can see, is a miracle. So when I started talking to the school I went to, I actually committed to them in the second Skype call, and the coach is like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah. I mean, you sound fun. You sound like you're a nice guy. And I'm coming. And he's like, what do you mean you're coming? I'm like, I'm committed. He's like, I didn't even make you an offer. I'm like, well, it's your second time with me on the phone.
He's like, you're like, I'm not American, honey. I'm from Russia. We're getting this done today.
yeah, this is pretty much done deal. You're on the phone with me for that, like, for the last 2 hours asking me questions. And I feel like I like what you do as a program. And it sounds like you're pretty happy about my golf, which I've never seen before.
Right.
But you're going to be fine. I'm going to be okay.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So that's how, yeah, like, it's kind of like I would have been better off coming here and then getting on the golf team than coming, not really knowing what am I doing, or where am I going, and coming. But it worked out. So I got really, really lucky with the team and the coaches and the place I went to. But yeah, it's quite a pure luck, I would say.
That, my friend, is the most amazing collegiate entrance story I've ever heard. Like, I've never heard anyone with anything even remotely similar to that story. So that is one unique story. But I have to know, who was in your top like 3 of colors and mascots that you were choosing from at the time? Do you remember?
There were some weird ones. There were some like a fish mascot, like kind of sharks, and I'm not into fish, so I was kind of like, nah, right. I want to be a fish. And then there are some weird ones like pirates and stuff, and I would be like, yeah, pirates kind of lame.
Yeah.
I don't really like red colors, so I didn't want to be in a red school, for example. Like, I'm kind of like, I was so weird. I was kind of like, yeah. Or there were some like almost like hedgehogs or something like that, and I'm like, who wants to be that? Like, why would you be that, right? And I ended up being a lumberjack, and I was kind of like, oh, that mascot is not too fun.
But it worked.
I imagined myself being like a lion or a tiger or something like cool like that.
Right.
And or like yeah.
That is amazing. Now, had you spoken to any other coaches up until that point, or was this the one that you committed to? Was that the first coach you'd spoken to?
I've spoken to some coaches, and they're all kind of like expecting me to tell them this story without asking the questions, and I didn't really know what to say. Like, what do you tell them? Like, I don't know. It's my first time even trying out for the team, and they're like, "What, do you have questions for me?" And I'm like, "No." Like, I didn't tell them that I'm looking at their mascots, obviously, because that's how few questions I have. But it's kind of like, and I think that was my first coach who actually had questions for me that are pretty cool, I thought, and I actually was able to ask questions based off what he has told me before.
Right.
So that's why I really liked it. I was like, I actually can have a conversation with you, because others I didn't really know what to ask, and it was kind of like, what, you don't want to know about us? And it's not that. It's, I don't know what to know about you.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
I don't know how it works.
Yeah. So tell me, because I know what it's like being from another country and coming into the United States and visiting and never having been here before and trying to acclimatize to time, to culture, to food, it's endless, the list. That landing here in the United States and sort of getting yourself situated for class, for training, for completely new people, none of your friends, none of your family. What was that like, that adjustment?
I was very lucky with my teammates. They actually took great care of me. They picked me up from the airport. We went to the store where I could buy bedding stuff, and basically all kinds of things that, like, little things that you will need at the dorm. But I've never, ever, ever, ever lived with somebody else in a dorm who is like, who I don't know. And it was kind of like, okay, this is going to be fun. Like, yeah, I'm living with somebody I've never met before. And they say they like match us to characters or some, like a quiz we did. And I was like, I don't really believe in that quiz deal. I don't think that's how you match roommates.
Right.
So I think it was like hard to, adjust to somebody you don't really know and become friends, because otherwise it's going to be miserable. I think that was not the toughest part, but it was really hard because we had like some arguments, and it's really not arguments because on a personal matter, it's about the cultural matter. Like, it would be kind of like, well, why did you say this to her and why did you say that? And it's like, well, that's kind of what I think is right. And it's not because I'm trying to offend somebody. I'm just trying to do what I'm used to do. Like, it's not, I'm not doing it out of a bad reason. I'm doing it just because that's what I've been doing for the last 19 years of my life. So I think that was hard at first. Like I would be like very stubborn in terms of like, this is my culture and that's how I do it and that's how I want to do it and that's how I will continue to do it. And I kind of had to cool down a little bit and realize that I'm not on my territory. I'm a visitor and I better be really, really careful with what I say, do. And, you know, it was very, I kind of had to be, I used to be very outgoing, like around people, and I still am, but I had to become much more careful of what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, because some things come across differently. And I came across most of the times rude and cold, and that's exactly what I didn't want to happen.
Right.
Because I was like, okay, now I have no friends.
Right.
And it's not because I tried to do it that way. It was just because I thought it would be an honest, short answer that is the most helpful or valuable. And that was not it.
Right. No, I totally get you again. Listen, my partner is American. We still have cultural arguments. We've been together 5 years and we still arguing. You're like, because we have cultural differences in how we say things, or a different word means something else. So I completely get that. Now, how did that all start to translate and work out for you in terms of the training environment? Now, first day of practice, freshman year, all the studies. How did the experience as an athlete, and tell our audience what university you did end up going to, which mascot was your favorite, and which university you ended up going to for your freshman year?
So I started my freshman year in Northern Arizona University, and I was a lumberjack, and it was blue and gold. And then later on, I was fortunate to transfer to another school, Arizona State University, and become a Sun Devil. Maroon and gold. So that's my little mascot journey there.
Yeah.
And as for the team environment, I think that I came into the country just like probably with my own kind of culture and vision of how golf works. I said that golf is an individual sport. There is no chance we can be a team. There is no chance that can't be a team in golf, because I was like, it's an individual sport. What do you mean there is a team? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what you do or you do or you do. Only matters what I do. So that's how I came in.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, that didn't really work out in the college golf way, just because it's all about the team here. It doesn't matter what sport you play. It was all about the team, and I just couldn't get it. Like, for the first season, like first half a year, I couldn't get it. I was like, I don't understand how we can be all a team, because it only matters how much, like how many hours do I practice and how many balls do I hit and what do I do to get better, and that's the only thing that will benefit the team. And sometime later, I figured out that it is about the team. It is about building each other, and it is about supporting each other and growing off each other. And whether we are, closest friends in the world, or we are teammates and friends, and we work hard together. And I think that was like the biggest kind of eye-opening experience. Is you don't necessarily have to, like, there is a work team, and you know how in school they make you do all of these group projects, and it was like my first group project, and I'd never been in those before. So it took me some time to grow into that, to grow into the team environment and say, hey, it's not only about you. It's not only about you, and it doesn't matter if you shoot 65 today. It's not about you. It's not. It's about the team, and you will definitely help if you do well. But at the same time, it's all about the people and the environment you're in, and who are you as a human being. And I don't think I was ever really grasping that before. And I think after spending some good time in college, I definitely realized that you're a human first, and then you're a player.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I feel like we live parallel lives, because I had the same experience as a freshman. And I remember one of the coaches at the end of the year, when it was starting to go belly up, was like, I finally get it. You weren't raised here, so you don't have any idea what this all means, like how important, like there's kids who have from the time they're 3 years old have been wanting to come to this university, and this is like for you it's just like, hey, I'm going to study. But
stop.
Like you said, there's so much, you learn so much about what it means to be a part of a team that really transfers into other areas of your life in a big way. Now, you said you did end up becoming a Sun Devil. How did that transition happen, and what was going on in your career where you thought it was time to go to another university? Because for a collegiate athlete, so people who don't really understand the collegiate system, it can be to the deficit of the athlete sometimes. Sometimes you'll have to sit out when you change universities. So what was going on with your change, and why did that all happen?
So the reason I transferred was actually I always wanted to move to a bigger city. Like living in Flagstaff, we're a very small town. So coming from, 12 million people city like Moscow, it was just it wasn't tough. It was quite uncomfortable. Like it was just kind of like, okay, I really would love to live in a bigger city. So when an opportunity came up, I knew that Arizona State University was looking for a player, and I thought, what an amazing opportunity it would be to just move down to the place where I want to be a year earlier. And then I was definitely struggling in terms of I think just like mentally and internally, I felt like I needed a change. And it's really due to mainly A, smaller city, and B, I just felt like at that point, I wanted to be a golfer, but I wasn't sure, like, what's next? What's the next step, right? If you're a girl out of a small town, you only have so big of a network. And that's how I felt here. Like, I came here with nothing, and I had to build on and build on and build on. And in Flagstaff, unfortunately, like, it wasn't really a great spot to do that, right? And I wanted to stay here so badly, and I'm like, well, I'm attached to the little town, and I just want to like explore and see what else is out there, right? So it was a great opportunity for me to figure out how big of my network I can build and where is really my spot. And then obviously Arizona State is a Pac-12 school, which is the best conference in the country.
Hello.
Sorry. So I was like, I cannot pass on. I knew that they're looking for a spot, and it is scary. It is definitely scary to be like, because in order to transfer, you have to basically cut everything you've done for the school. You have to take your paper, basically tell the coach you're out, and then they already release you, and only then you can start talking to somebody. And I think that was the scariest moment, because for like a good week or two, you're like nobody, and you're just talking to people, not even knowing if they want you or not. So I think that was the most terrifying thing could have possibly happened to any athlete, really, especially somebody like me who is, visa is ending up, like I really have to get my paperwork done. I have to get back in the country, get all set up. Like I have to visit some schools if I have to here, and then like talk to coaches and see really what they have to offer. And it was like stressful, but I was like, it just felt like it was a right move to do. And I just felt like I found my spot, even without, kind of knowing really what's it going to end up as. I was like, if this doesn't work out, I'll find another spot. I'll find it will be a better place. So I was quite fearless, but then I was also at that point, I thought I was peaking in my career, college golf career. So I was kind of like, I just won a few events and everything has been going so well for me. So it's like, what's my next step, right? Like I have to be growing somewhere. I played here, and here, and I won this, and this, and this. And then I won our conference, like player of the year deal. And I was like, okay, what's next? Like, what else can I do? Where else can I grow onto? And I felt like that was a good move to do. And also it was, going off how I got to college and how I really got to that next level. I was like, well, I was naive and fearless then. Why can I be now? Yeah. And that's what I did.
It's fantastic. I mean, it seems like even from a very young age, you've always had a vision, and you've had the determination and the guts to pursue that vision on your own. It's just amazing. I'm wondering if you remember, like the first time you watched, speaking of visions, the first time you may have watched the Masters on television, and was that inspiring, and how did you feel in that moment?
You will laugh. I actually did not watch my first Masters until I got to America.
Wow.
Because it was never on the national television. We don't have Golf Channel back in Russia. And so like, I think that, that's why I'm so like, my, knowledge of like a golf field is so poor it's embarrassing. Like, it actually, like, people would be like, oh, he's playing, she's playing, oh, they're playing, they're so good, they used to be so good. I'm like, I don't even know who those people are. Like, it's that embarrassing that I'm in this golf field and I'm still not, and because I was never raised with, oh, we're watching golf on a Sunday and a Saturday. Like, I don't do it. Like, I would watch Masters on a Sunday. But I know it's embarrassing to admit maybe, but I just don't watch golf, because every time I start watching golf on the TV, I'm like, I need to go out there. Like, am I getting better sitting on the couch watching this? Yeah. Or can I go and actually practice and get better out there myself? So I always have that controversial of like, I want to be in this television. Yeah. And if I'm not there and I'm here, what should I do to get there? I need to go and practice. So that's kind of like, it has been always a little like panic kind of button of like, why would you watch something where you want to go to? Like, go work for it. Right. I don't know. That's like my little like, it's super weird. Even when I watch Masters, I'm like, I shouldn't be sitting here, man. Like, I should be out there grinding.
You're like, I'm wasting time.
I am, honestly, though. Like, this is my dream, so why am I here?
Right. Listening to you, I just hear so much confidence, so much passion. And I know that you were asked once, how did a golfer end up coming from Moscow and ending up competing at the Augusta National? And you said with a goal, a dream, a picture and a vision in your head that you can do it. Where does this drive and this confidence and this passion come from? Is this, were your parents like this? Was this something you were just born with? Because your confidence and your ability to just decide you want something and go after it, like even with your parents maybe not agreeing, even with it not being the norm where you're from, where does this come from? Where does this Sofyaism come from?
Honestly, I don't even know myself. Right. I think that everything that has happened to me in my life has happened only because I really never had a goal that I would be like keeping in my mind and be upset over. Right. Like, how some people would be like, well, yeah, like it's end of the year and I didn't make it to where I really wanted to. Right. I never really had those like particular goals. I kind of had like a very vague definition of where I want to be. Right. And I think I never really focused on where I want to end up because I didn't know where I want to end up. Like, it's almost like I didn't want to think about where I want to end up, because then I would limit myself to where I can actually end up. Right. So it was rather like just focus on the process and just keep working hard and going with the flow, and you will get to beyond where you can imagine. Because I don't know the world, I don't know this life, I don't know where I can get at, I don't know where I can be. Like, I don't want to limit myself to once I do this, that's it. So it's almost like, well, I do want to do this, but it doesn't mean that this is all I want to do and this is the end. Right. Like, it has always been, I don't really have that end thing, but I kind of know what I kind of want to do. Right. And or I do what I enjoy and I just really work hard at it. Right. And I think I got a lot of athletes, I'm sure, beyond sure actually. I got a lot of, you can do it. And I just always wanted to say, no, I can't. And I still do get it in like a lot of things of like, no, you can't do this and this together and then be this. And I'm like, you wait. One day I will, and I'll look back and be like, you told me I can and I can. And yeah, I think that's a big one. But that's a big one for everybody, right?
Not everybody, but definitely for Sofya.
A lot. I'm sure for a lot. Like, if you tell me you can't do it, you're like, screw you, I can't do it.
Yeah. They're definitely, that is a trait that a lot of athletes have, but I can tell very much so. It's a strong trait here with you, which is...
I get so mad.
Probably why you're so successful.
It's funny. I can hear those people still telling it to me, and I just, I'm just like, don't want to know. I'm never going to say the name, but it's like,
you wait and see.
Yeah, I'll be there.
So where is your flow? Where does your flow have you now? Are you still competing for college? What's the next move for you? Or how has COVID affected your situation? Are you golfing? I know you're definitely not watching the Masters. What's happening in your flow right now?
So I actually, it's quite crazy, right? Life is quite crazy, and I will be honest. Like, I graduated in December 2019, and I thought I'm flying out of college with a like bachelor degree, and I'm going to crush the world. And the world shut down on me, and I said, all right, well, so I actually was fortunate enough to like get my paperwork settled to the point where I was able to work full time last year. And I know it's embarrassing to say again, this was my first job of my like entire life, and I was what, 22. Because you never get to work as a golfer and athlete, but it was like the only way to really make anything, because golf wasn't an option. And I wasn't able to earn my LPGA card or any really status last year because everything got canceled. And I really got into something, I think, bigger than myself. I started working for the company. It's a headwear line. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name.
Yeah, it's your interview. You can say what you want. Yeah.
Okay. So it's called Vinhue. It's spelled as VIMHUE, and it's basically ladies' headwear line. And I believe in that company so much. Like, I think I became a part of its DNA, because it's just me and my boss, who is the owner, and she's absolutely amazing. So I really started working for her, well, both of us, and we just blew up. And it's a little startup that turned out to be something bigger, and we think it's way bigger than we can imagine. So I know it's a hard choice, right? Like, you want to get back into like a professional athlete world and just be a star out there on TV when somebody's watching you. But at the same time, I think I found something bigger than myself, and I'm not scared to say that I managed to combine the two. I keep practicing, I keep getting better. I've actually changed everything dramatically in the last year and a half. I will qualify this year for LPGA Tour and Symetra Tour, and then we'll see from there. But that's not until fall, so I still have a lot of time to work on my game and be where I want to be.
That is fantastic. And they say some things are a blessing and a curse, and I feel like the fact that you had to stop and do something else outside of golf is actually a blessing, because so many athletes, they get to the end of their career, and like you said, it's not an embarrassing thing that you haven't had a quote-unquote regular job, because your job started when you were young. You were a golfer, you were a dancer, that was your job. I, like you, competed for 20 years, and at the end I think I probably had two regular jobs that didn't even probably last over a year. So my resume, like yours, had nothing on it. So it was a real shock to the system. So I think you have a great opportunity now, because you've realized, hang on a minute, if I'm not doing this golf, there needs to be something else going on.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. Now, you've had so much experience. You grew up in Moscow. You've been in other sports like dance. You've transitioned yourself into golf. You went from being an athlete in your home country to moving yourself to another country. Not only did you change countries, but then while in your collegiate system, you changed from one university to another. There's so much wealth of knowledge as a collegiate athlete, as an international athlete that you have. I have to ask you, for a rising star, maybe somebody coming, passionate about sport and wanting to do what you've done, or coming from Europe and wanting to come to America, what kind of advice would you give to someone who says, listen, I want to take this seriously, but I, like you were, I don't even know where to start, and I don't have anyone to help me. What advice would you give them?
I think definitely don't be afraid to be honest. Like, if you don't know what to ask when somebody asks, well, do you have questions for me? You should be like, honestly, this is my first time. I don't know whether it's an interview or you're talking to a college coach or whoever it is. Like, just be honest with them. Just be honest and say, I honestly don't know what to ask, but I would greatly appreciate if you keep talking and telling me what you do here. Yeah. Because it's kind of... it might sound like a weird thing to ask, but I'm sure they will appreciate that, because coming to a different culture, country, and system, not really knowing what is it like, just ask basic questions. What do you do on a daily basis? I don't know. What do you do after you wake up?
Right.
What does the team does or whoever does? Like, I don't know. What is your what is the order of your thoughts every day? Like, what is it you do? And then be open-minded for sure, because I wasn't, and I thought that, my culture is beyond better than any other. And I thought it was just, it was like a regular thing to think for a teenager, I thought. And just like, don't make sure never to try to prove that to anybody.
Right.
Like, just keep it to yourself. Like, if you really do believe that, fine, just, do it, whatever. But also be open-minded and know that there are certain things that it's really better to take the best out of all of the cultures.
Right.
And combine it and leave to yourself what you think is best, and then get rid of whatever is not, and just be that person, or use it in your daily life or whatnot. Like, just never get stuck and limited. And I know I hate to say that, but don't let your final goal define who you are.
Right.
Because whatever you're doing, it might not be your final whatever. It might not be your final tournament, not final round. You never know what's going to happen and where the life is going to take you.
Absolutely. I love that. And what would you say is the number one trait that it takes to be great at what you do?
I think determination, and just simple, very, very simple determination and hard work, regardless of everybody else says. Like, if you look silly, like I was worried at
in your mom's dresses, or
like I actually got out of college, and believe it or not, like we had a private facility, and I was so like secure, and I could have been, kept doing whatever I need to be doing. And I was like almost elevated. I was kind of like, I'm in paradise, and all of those people are like on the public side. And then my college career ended, and I had to be that person on the public side.
Right.
And I was like, but I still had to be a professional golfer, right? I had all of my tools, like I had a yoga ball. I still have a tripod on me every practice. I had all of these funky towel like drills, and taking videos of myself every 15 minutes to make sure I'm doing it right, and sending it to my coach. And like some people literally come up to me and be like, are you a professional golfer? And I'd be like, I'm working towards it. And they'd be like, well, get off your phone. And it's like,
wow,
excuse me, like I just try to I'm texting my coach. I'm talking to my coach.
Right.
Like, granted, like, so what I really learned in last year, if you think you look like you're the stupidest person out there, do it. If you think that this is the right thing to do, and whatever you're doing is best for you, keep doing it. Like, it doesn't matter how funny, weird, awkward you look, and everybody like who comes in looks at you the first because you look like weird with a tripod on the range or whatnot. I don't know. Like, don't be afraid of that, because just keep doing. And then same thing for the gym, right? Golfers work out. My workouts are much different from what many people who work out in the gym are, because it's like golf specific. It's towards what I'm needing to do. And I have to do it barefoot, and I do it in my socks. I cannot tell you how many people are like, oh, where are your shoes at? And it's like,
here we go.
Just let me be. Like, I used to be so upset about it, though. Like, I used to be like, oh, like I'm weird, I'm different. And now I'm like, if this is the only thing that's going to get me better, or this is the thing that is going to get me better, I don't care. Right. I don't care what you say.
Right. So basically, it's do whatever you need to do. If this is something you're passionate about, no matter what it is, whether it makes you look silly or different, do it, because it's your path and it's your journey, and no matter what anybody else thinks, you're the one that has to answer to it at the end of the day. Now, I was going to ask you, because I always ask everyone at the end, what do you want the world to know? But I think that really kind of answers that. I tried to do my little Oprah Winfrey moment, but you really captured it with that last statement there. So I'd love to know how, if people want to find out more about the company that you're working on, and they want to follow you and see what's happening with your career, how can they find out more about all those fun things?
So the company I work for is called Vimhue. We do have online website. We do have a store in Etsy, or you can always email us. And the name is, or Instagram. The name is VIMHUE, and it's basically it's a high ponytail hat, a performance hat for women. And this is the hat that you've never seen before.
Oh my gosh,
and
I need one.
You will one day.
Yeah.
Because we're expanding like crazy. And then I have my player page and I guess Instagram on Facebook and Instagram, sorry. And my name is just like everywhere else, Sofya, and my last name Anokhina. And my first name spelling is kind of funny. It's Sofya, and I love it because it's different.
Yes.
And my last name is Anokhina, Anokhina.
Amazing. That's fantastic. And I will be checking that out because I'm always like trying to fit hats on all this hair. So
okay, I will have to get you one, whatever it is. Like,
yeah, amazing. I love it. You know what, Sofya? It has Sofya with a Y, by the way. It has been an absolute charm. It's been so great chatting with you, learning more about you, your history, and just your amazing spark and confidence. So I just want to say thank you so much. I hope that we get to interview you again in the future. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Sofya.
Bye. Thank you.
Wow, what a ball of energy. Oh my gosh, I love that. Her story, her passion. I mean, at 17, I never would have thought to like start searching and calling around for schools. I just would have been like, okay, well, if they want me, they'll ask. Like, what passion, how amazing. And that lesson that she talks about, really just when you know that something is for you, there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be people who say, don't do that, you look silly, what are you doing? And you need to just ignore them and pursue your passion. What a great message she had for us today. So on that note, don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe, whatever it is, wherever you are listening. Because remember, this isn't just about us having a fun time with the athletes that we interview. It's also about helping to change the lives of athletes for the better. There are so many athletes that get depressed, especially after retirement. There's so many Olympians that have committed suicide, and this is a serious issue. So we're doing our best to try and change that. So if you want to get involved and find out more about what we've got going on in that respect, and even if you don't, check it out anyway, www.globalsportschannel.com and www.loveathletes.com. And guess what, I'll see you next time.